It was a chilly morning, and the sun was barely rising over the small city, casting a golden hue on the streets that were slowly waking up. People hurried along, wrapped in their coats, carrying bags, coffee cups, and the weight of their daily routines. Amid this rush, a young woman moved carefully through the crowd, her eyes glancing around not just to avoid bumping into anyone, but also as if she were searching for something she couldn't quite name. She had a gentle demeanor, a quiet presence that made people notice her, even if they didn't say anything. Her day had started like any other, yet deep down, she felt that something different was about to happen. At the same time, a young man was walking in the opposite direction. He was tall and had a calm confidence in the way he carried himself, but there was a softness in his expression that hinted at kindness and thoughtfulness. His life was filled with routines too, but he enjoyed the little moments, watching the way sunlight fell on buildings, noticing small acts of kindness from strangers, and always finding something to smile about. He wasn't looking for anything in particular. Yet fate had its own plans. The first time they noticed each other was almost by accident. She had dropped her notebook near a bench while adjusting her bag, and he happened to be passing by. He bent down instinctively to pick it up and handed it back to her with a small smile. She thanked him, their fingers brushing briefly, and in that simple touch, a spark was ignited. There was a strange familiarity in the moment, as if they had known each other in another life. Even though they had never met, they exchanged a few words, talking about the weather and the busy streets, something casual that was nothing special, yet it felt like more than just small talk. There was laughter, a lightness that neither had felt in a while, and suddenly, a mundane morning felt full of promise. They went their separate ways after that brief encounter, each carrying a quiet thought of the other throughout their day. Over the next few weeks, life continued its ordinary rhythm, but they kept running into each other in small ways, at the same coffee shop, near the park, or walking along the same streets. Each meeting was brief but meaningful, a series of moments that slowly built a silent connection between them. It wasn't dramatic, nothing out of a storybook, but it was real and human, filled with genuine smiles and shared glances. The young woman began to notice how he always seemed to carry a sense of calm, how he treated people around him with respect and patience. She found herself looking forward to these chance encounters, feeling a warmth in her chest that made her day brighter. For him, her presence brought a sense of comfort and joy he hadn't realized he was missing. It was subtle at first, a smile, a nod, a wave, but over time became something more profound. One rainy afternoon, city streets were glistening with reflections of neon signs and umbrellas. She was hurrying through the drizzle, holding her coat tightly, when she almost slipped on the wet pavement. He appeared just in time, steadying her with a hand on her arm. Their eyes met, and in that moment, there was a silent understanding, a connection that went beyond words. They laughed together at the coincidence, sharing an umbrella for the short walk to a nearby cafe. Inside the cafe, they found a quiet corner and sat down. The conversation flowed naturally, not forced or rehearsed. They spoke about their favorite books, movies, dreams, and the little things that made them happy. Time seemed to slow down as they talked, the world outside fading into a blur. It was one of those rare moments when everything feels right, and the bond between two people starts to deepen without them even realizing it. Days turned into weeks, and the meetings became more frequent. They started to intentionally cross paths, leaving subtle hints for the other to notice. She would linger a little longer at the coffee shop, hoping to see him again, and he found himself changing his routes to catch a glimpse of her smile. The city that once felt routine now seemed vibrant, alive, and full of possibilities. Through these interactions, they discovered shared passions and differences that fascinated them. She loved painting and often carried a small sketchbook, capturing fleeting moments of life. He admired her attention to detail, the way she could turn a simple street scene into something beautiful on paper. He shared his love for music and writing, and she listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she cared. Their connection was built not just on attraction, but on mutual respect and understanding. There were quiet nights, when they would sit on a park bench after work, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. They talked about hopes and fears, laughter and tears, sharing stories from their past that shaped who they were. In these moments, they felt seen and understood in ways they hadn't experienced before. It was the kind of bond that didn't need grand gestures or declarations. It was in the small, everyday moments, the simple acts of caring and attention. One evening, as winter approached and the city streets were adorned with early festive lights, they found themselves walking together after a long day. The air was crisp, and their breaths formed little clouds as they talked and laughed. She looked at him, noticing the way the lights reflected in his eyes, and felt a flutter of something she hadn't felt before. He noticed the way her cheeks flushed in the cold, the subtle way she tucked her hair behind her ear, and it made his heart beat faster. They stopped at a small bakery. Drawn in by the smell of fresh bread and pastries, inside they shared a slice of cake, laughing over crumbs and coffee spills. It was simple, ordinary, yet it felt magical. In that moment, they realized that what they were feeling wasn't just a fleeting attraction, it was something deeper, a connection that was becoming a part of their lives in ways they hadn't expected. Life, however, was not without its challenges. Both of them had responsibilities and personal struggles that sometimes kept them apart. There were days when work or family obligations prevented them from meeting, and they felt the absence keenly. Yet even in separation, their thoughts often returned to the other, a quiet reminder of the bond they were forming. Through these ups and downs, they learned patience and understanding. They discovered the importance of communication, the value of listening, and the strength found in small gestures of care. They didn't rush anything, allowing their relationship to grow naturally, like a plant nurtured by attention, sunlight, and time. One memorable day, they attended a local art exhibition together. She was excited to show him some of her favorite pieces, and he was eager to share his insights. As they walked through the gallery, they discussed the emotions each painting evoked, their perspectives and personal interpretations. It was a simple activity, but it brought them closer, revealing layers of personality, taste, and thought that words alone couldn't convey. Even mundane activities became special when done together. Grocery shopping, walking in the park, or simply sitting in a quiet corner of a library became moments they cherished. They noticed each other's quirks, the way he hummed softly while reading, the way she paused to admire the little details in her surroundings. These observations created a deeper appreciation, a bond built on genuine attention and affection. One evening, as they walked home from a late-night bookstore visit, they found themselves caught in a sudden rain shower. Instead of running for cover, they laughed and let the rain soak them. They ran through the empty streets, holding hands, spinning in puddles, and sharing spontaneous kisses under the rain. It was a moment of pure joy, a memory that would linger in their hearts forever. The young woman found herself reflecting on how much her life had changed since meeting him. She felt lighter, happier, and more alive. His presence brought a sense of comfort and excitement simultaneously. She looked forward to each day, knowing that even the smallest interaction with him could turn an ordinary moment into something extraordinary. For the young man, she had become a source of inspiration and warmth. Her laughter, curiosity, and kindness enriched his life in ways he hadn't anticipated. He felt a protective instinct, a desire to support and care for her. Each encounter strengthened his feelings, deepening a connection that was becoming essential to his happiness. As autumn turned into winter, their bond grew stronger. They celebrated small milestones, shared personal stories, and created memories that would last a lifetime. The city, once a backdrop to their individual lives, now became a witness to their growing love story. The streets, cafes, parks, and quiet corners held the imprint of their laughter, conversations, and shared moments. The magic of their story wasn't in grand gestures or dramatic events, but in the authenticity of their connection. Every smile, every glance, every shared word carried weight and meaning. It was a love story that unfolded naturally, quietly, and beautifully, teaching them the value of patience, understanding, and genuine human connection. And so, their journey continued, filled with small moments that were profound. Ordinary days made extraordinary by the presence of the other. They didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, they felt an undeniable sense of belonging, quiet certainty that they had found something rare and precious. It was the beginning of a heartfelt love story, one that would stay with them forever, etched in memory and emotion. A gentle reminder of how beautiful life can be when two hearts meet at exactly the right time. Days turned into weeks, and the young woman and the young man found themselves intentionally seeking out moments together. Their encounters, once seemingly accidental, were now filled with an unspoken expectation, a quiet excitement that made their hearts race. Every smile, every laugh, every shared glance became a thread weaving a deeper connection between them. They discovered small joys in simple things. On lazy Sunday mornings, they would meet at the corner cafe, where the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the warmth of the bakery. She loved the way he noticed the tiny details, the swirl of cream in the coffee, the way sunlight fell through the windows, the music playing softly in the background. He admired her ability to find beauty in small moments, her curiosity that made every day feel new. Their conversations grew longer, stretching from casual topics to the intimate corners of their thoughts. They spoke of childhood memories, dreams for the future, and the fears that occasionally crept into their lives. There was comfort in the way they listened to each other, without judgment or interruption, simply absorbing the words and emotions shared. It was in these conversations that trust began to take root, slowly but surely, creating a safe space where they could be themselves. One afternoon, they decided to take a walk in the nearby park, where the leaves had turned golden and red, crunching under their feet. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and fallen leaves. They talked about the changing seasons, the cycles of life, and how sometimes endings made way for new beginnings. She found herself laughing at his playful remarks and thoughtful observations. Feeling an ease she hadn't experienced in a long time, he felt a sense of peace, a rare calmness that made the world feel less complicated. As they spent more time together, they started noticing the subtle ways they had begun to influence each other's lives. She became more adventurous, willing to step out of her comfort zone, try new things, and see the world with a fresh perspective. He became more attentive, more reflective, and more open about his emotions. They encouraged each other to grow, not by pressure, but through gentle support and understanding. One chilly evening, as they walked along the riverside, the city lights reflecting on the water, he shared a personal story from his past and experience that had left him wary and cautious in relationships. She listened quietly, holding his hand for reassurance, letting him know he could trust her. When he finished, she shared a part of her own past, a memory that had shaped her into the person she was today. In that exchange, they realized the depth of their bond. It wasn't just attraction, it was connection, empathy, and understanding. Small acts of care became a regular part of their days. He would bring her favorite pastries without being asked, noticing what made her smile. She would leave little notes or messages for him, simple words that conveyed warmth and affection. They began to celebrate ordinary moments: the first snowfall, a quiet evening at the park, or a freshly brewed cup of tea shared in comfortable silence. These small gestures became the language of their growing love. They also experienced challenges, moments when life tried to intrude on their budding relationship. Busy schedules, personal responsibilities, and the unpredictability of everyday life occasionally kept them apart. Yet even when separated, their thoughts often wandered to each other, and their hearts remained connected. They learned patience, understanding that love was not just about presence, but also about emotional connection, trust, and support even from a distance. One evening, she invited him to an art exhibit she had been eager to see. Walking through the gallery, they admired paintings, sculptures, and photographs, discussing the emotions each piece evoked. She watched as he engaged deeply with the art, his eyes reflecting curiosity and appreciation. He noticed the way she absorbed every detail, her passion for colors and composition shining through. It was another layer of understanding, a shared appreciation for beauty, creativity, and expression. Over time, they also discovered shared routines that became traditions for them. Weekend walks to the farmer's market, cooking simple meals together, and reading quietly side by side became moments they cherished. These routines were not extravagant or showy. They were simple, ordinary actions made extraordinary by the presence of someone who cared deeply. It was in these everyday moments that they felt the most genuine happiness, the kind that doesn't need validation or applause. The young man also began to introduce her to his circle of friends, who welcomed her warmly. She felt included and appreciated, seeing the kindness and trust he had in his relationships. Likewise, he met her close friends, gaining insight into her world. The people who shaped her life and the experiences that mattered most to her. Through these interactions, they gained a sense of community, realizing that love was not just about two people, but also about understanding and integrating into each other's lives. They celebrated milestones quietly, often without any fanfare. A shared favorite meal, a book finished together, or a moment of laughter at a minor mishap became moments worth remembering. These simple joys created memories that were intimate, personal, and enduring. They understood that love was not about grand gestures, but about consistency, presence, and genuine care. One particularly memorable day, they decided to spend a quiet afternoon in the countryside, away from the bustling city. Walking along a narrow path lined with wildflowers, they talked about life, hopes, and dreams. The young woman spoke about her desire to explore the world, to experience new cultures, and to see places that inspired her creativity. He listened attentively, sharing his own dreams and aspirations. It was a day filled with laughter, reflection, and a deep sense of connection. Through these experiences, their relationship continued to grow organically. They learned to support each other through difficult moments, celebrate successes, and find joy in the ordinary. They shared responsibilities, offered comfort in times of stress, and encouraged each other to pursue personal goals. It was a partnership built on trust, respect, and mutual admiration. As winter approached, the city's streets were illuminated with festive lights, and the air was filled with a sense of celebration. They enjoyed the season together, participating in simple traditions like decorating a small tree, baking treats, and sharing warm drinks on cold evenings. These moments, though small, carried immense meaning. Symbolizing the warmth and comfort they found in each other, the young woman often reflected on how much she had grown since meeting him. She felt more confident, more open, and more alive. His presence had brought a sense of stability and joy into her life, making her see the beauty in everyday moments. Similarly, he realized that her companionship had given him a renewed sense of purpose and happiness. They had become an integral part of each other's lives, not out of necessity, but out of genuine connection and love. Through it all, they continued to nurture their bond with patience and care. They understood that love was not always easy, that it required effort, understanding, and compromise. Yet they embraced these lessons willingly, knowing that the reward was a connection that was real, deep, and enduring by the end of this period. Their relationship had evolved into something meaningful and resilient. They had shared countless moments, big and small, laughter and tears, silence and conversation. Each experience, each gesture, and each shared story had strengthened their bond, creating a foundation for a love that was built to last. They knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, guided by the understanding and care that had grown naturally between them. Their story, simple yet profound, was a testament to the beauty of human connection. It showed that love is not always about dramatic events or grand declarations, but about the small, consistent acts of care, attention, and presence. It was a love that grew quietly, steadily, and meaningfully, leaving a lasting impression on their hearts. And as they continued their journey together, every day brought a new opportunity to deepen their bond, creating memories that would remain with them forever. Life, as it often does, brought unexpected challenges into their lives. The young woman and the young man who had grown so close now faced moments that tested their patience, understanding, and the strength of their bond. It began subtly, with missed meetings and delayed messages. The pressures of work and personal obligations weighed heavily on both of them, creating a quiet tension that neither knew how to address immediately. One day, the young woman found herself overwhelmed with responsibilities. Her work required her to stay late for a week, leaving little time for herself or for the moments she cherished with him. She felt guilty for not being able to meet him, fearing that he might misunderstand her absence. Meanwhile, he was dealing with his own challenges, unexpected changes at work that demanded his attention and energy. Both were consumed by their individual struggles, yet both carried an underlying concern for the other. Communication became strained. Short messages replaced long conversations, and hurried phone calls took the place of shared evenings. The warmth they had felt in each other's presence seemed just out of reach. Despite their efforts, misunderstandings began to creep in, small assumptions that grew into quiet doubts. The young man wondered if she felt distant, while she questioned whether he was upset or frustrated. Their hearts remained connected, but the distance between them felt real and heavy. During this time, they both learned important lessons about patience and perspective. The young woman realized that love was not just about being physically present, but also about understanding the other person's struggles and trusting that the connection they shared was strong enough to endure temporary separation. The young man understood that supporting someone sometimes meant giving space and not taking perceived distance personally. They were learning that love required more than affection. It required empathy, trust, and resilience. Despite the challenges, small gestures continued to bridge the gap. He would leave little notes at the cafe where she often spent her lunch breaks, messages that made her smile amidst the chaos of her day. She would send him voice messages, short yet heartfelt, reminding him that she was thinking of him even when they couldn't meet. These small acts, though seemingly insignificant, became lifelines, maintaining the thread of connection that held them together. One rainy afternoon, the young woman had a particularly stressful day. She stepped outside to clear her mind, standing under a small awning as the rain poured around her. Unexpectedly, he appeared, umbrella in hand, his presence instantly calming her. They didn't need to speak much. The comfort was in simply being together, in sharing the silence and the steady rhythm of rain around them. That day reminded them both that even through difficulties, moments of care and understanding could reinforce the bond they cherished. However, the challenges continued. A misunderstanding arose when an innocent conversation with a colleague was misinterpreted, creating tension and doubt. Both felt hurt, but hesitant to express it fully, fearing conflict or disappointment. The young woman spent nights reflecting on what went wrong, while he wrestled with feelings he didn't want to complicate further. It was a period of emotional strain, where patience and reflection were as important as any words. During this time apart, they both realized the depth of their feelings. Absence made their hearts clearer, revealing how much they valued each other's presence and companionship. The young woman began to appreciate his unwavering support and gentle nature even more. Understanding that the love they shared was more than just shared laughter, it was a foundation that could withstand challenges. He, in turn, recognized her strength, resilience, and thoughtfulness. Realizing that their bond was rare and worth protecting, eventually, they reached a turning point. A quiet evening, neither expecting it, became the moment of reconciliation. They met at the park where they had shared many early conversations, the air filled with the soft rustling of leaves. There were no dramatic speeches or apologies. Instead, there was honesty. They spoke of their frustrations, their fears, and their longing. Words that had been unspoken for weeks were shared gently, with care and attention. They listened, really listened, understanding not just the words, but the emotions behind them. That night marked a healing. They embraced their imperfections, the misunderstandings, and the difficulties they had faced, recognizing that these challenges had strengthened their bond rather than weakened it. The young woman felt relief, a weight lifted from her chest, and the young man felt a renewed sense of commitment and love. Their connection deepened, not through grand gestures, but through honest communication, empathy, and shared understanding. As time passed, they also faced external pressures that tested their relationship. Family expectations, career opportunities, and social obligations sometimes pulled them in different directions. Yet they learned to navigate these challenges together, making compromises, supporting each other's choices, and celebrating small victories along the way. They discovered that love was not just about moments of joy, but also about weathering storms side by side. During these trying times, they also found solace in shared activities that grounded them. Simple walks, evening talks by the riverside, and quiet moments at home became anchors, providing stability amidst the chaos. They learned the importance of consistency, showing up for each other not only in happiness, but also in uncertainty. These practices reinforced the trust and intimacy that had been growing since their first meeting. One evening, the young woman invited him to a small concert in a local hall. The music, live and unpolished, filled the space with emotion. They sat side by side, holding hands, letting the melodies wash over them. In that shared silence, in the gentle squeeze of fingers, they felt a profound connection that transcended words. It was a reminder that love could be quiet yet powerful, existing in gestures, presence, and shared experiences. The young man also introduced her to moments of creativity in his life. They spent afternoons writing together, exchanging thoughts and reflections, exploring ideas and emotions through words. She shared sketches, he shared notes and lyrics. These sessions were not about perfection, but about expression, understanding, and connection. They discovered new dimensions of each other, appreciating the depth and sensitivity that underpin their personalities, even amidst difficulties. Their laughter returned often, spontaneous and genuine. They found humor in mundane situations, comfort in shared jokes, and relief in each other's presence. These moments of lightness reminded them that love was not only about facing challenges, but also about celebrating life's simplicity, finding joy in ordinary experiences and valuing each other's company. Through these trials, they also learned the importance of self-awareness and personal growth. The young woman realized that understanding her own needs, fears, and boundaries allowed her to engage more fully in the relationship. The young man discovered that vulnerability and openness, though sometimes uncomfortable, strengthened trust and intimacy. They grew not only as a couple, but also as individuals, shaping a partnership that was balanced, respectful, and deeply nurturing. A memorable day came when they decided to spend a quiet weekend away in a small town near the mountains. The air was fresh, and the landscape serene, providing a backdrop for reflection and connection. They hiked along trails lined with autumn leaves, spoke about their past experiences, and imagined possibilities for the future. The simplicity of the trip, free from the distractions of city life, allowed them to reconnect deeply, appreciating the presence of the other without external pressures. During this time, they also explored the strength of forgiveness and understanding. Past misunderstandings were discussed openly, mistakes were acknowledged, and lessons were embraced. This process, though sometimes emotionally taxing, brought them closer, demonstrating that love could grow stronger when faced with challenges. Not despite them, the young woman often reflected on the journey they had undertaken together. She recognized that their relationship was not perfect, yet it was authentic, resilient, and deeply meaningful. She appreciated the young man's patience, empathy, and unwavering support, qualities that made her feel cherished and understood. He, in turn, admired her courage, kindness, and ability to maintain hope and warmth even during difficult times. By the end of this period, they had navigated a series of trials that tested their patience, understanding, and emotional resilience. Through challenges, misunderstandings, and pressures, they discovered the depth and durability of their connection. Their love had evolved, not into something idealized, but into something real, grounded, and profoundly human. They understood that difficulties were a natural part of life, and facing them together strengthened their bond rather than weakened it. As they walked through the city streets one evening, hand in hand, the lights reflecting softly on wet pavements, they felt a renewed sense of unity and commitment. The challenges they had faced were not forgotten, but neither did they define them. Instead, they became milestones, markers of growth, understanding, and love that could endure uncertainty. Their story during this time was one of resilience, patience, and emotional depth. They learned that love was not simply about joy or shared adventures, but also about standing together during hardships, offering support without expectation and nurturing connection through empathy and presence. Every small gesture, every heartfelt conversation, and every act of understanding became part of the foundation on which their relationship was built. By embracing challenges together, they discovered a profound truth that love is strengthened not by the absence of difficulties, but by the ability to face them together, with patience, understanding, and unwavering care. Their bond, tested and nurtured, became a source of comfort, inspiration, and enduring joy. They knew that whatever lay ahead, they could face it together. Guided by the love they had cultivated through both simple and challenging moments. Through this period of trials and temporary distance, they learned to value honesty, empathy, and the quiet strength of shared understanding. They emerged more connected, appreciative, and committed to each other. Their hearts, once tentative, now beat in a rhythm of trust and mutual care. The challenges had not diminished their love. They had refined it, proving that true connection endures and deepens through patience, communication, and unwavering presence. And so, their journey continued, marked by growth, understanding, and the realization that love is both fragile and resilient. They carried forward the lessons learned, the experiences shared, and the bond forged through trials, creating a love that was enduring, authentic, deeply human. After the challenges they had faced, a quiet period of understanding and reconnection began to take shape. The young woman and the young man, having navigated misunderstandings and moments of distance, now approached their relationship with a deeper sense of maturity and care. They had learned the importance of patience, empathy, and consistent communication, and these lessons became the foundation of the next chapter in their journey. One bright morning, they decided to meet at a small riverside cafe, a place where the light reflected softly on the water, creating a warm, inviting atmosphere. The young woman arrived first, arranging herself by the window, her eyes following the gentle flow of the river. She felt a mixture of excitement and calm, knowing that he would be arriving soon. Her heart carried the memory of past challenges, but it was filled with hope, a quiet confidence that they had emerged stronger when he arrived. There was an unspoken acknowledgement in their eyes. No grand gestures, no dramatic speeches, just a smile that conveyed everything words could not. They sat together, sipping coffee, sharing small bites of pastries, speaking about ordinary things from the weather to the books they were reading. Yet beneath the surface there was a profound sense of connection, a reassurance that their bond had endured and grown through difficulties. They began to spend more intentional time together, exploring not only shared interests, but also new experiences that deepened their understanding of each other. One afternoon, they visited a quiet art studio where local artists displayed their work. She admired the brushstrokes and the subtle use of color, while he shared insights into the emotions the pieces evoked. Their conversation flowed naturally, revealing not just appreciation for art, but also a growing awareness of each other's perspectives and sensitivities. It was in these moments of shared reflection that their connection became richer, more nuanced, and profoundly human. The young woman also introduced him to her favorite places in the city. They walked through small streets lined with quaint shops, stopped at hidden gardens, and lingered at scenic viewpoints. Each visit was an opportunity to share her world, to show the places that brought her peace and inspiration. He listened attentively, appreciating her stories and the little details she pointed out. In return, he shared aspects of his life that mattered deeply to him, creating a balanced exchange of experiences and emotions. Even simple routines became meaningful. Preparing meals together, walking to the local market, or spending quiet evenings reading. Side by side turned into rituals that strengthened their bond. They discovered that love was not solely about grand moments, but about consistency, presence, and small acts of care. Each gesture, no matter how ordinary, carried significance because it was shared with someone who truly understood and valued them. As the days passed, they faced new situations that tested their adaptability and teamwork. Planning joint activities, navigating unexpected changes, or making decisions about time and priorities required negotiation and compromise. Through these experiences, they learned to respect each other's needs, communicate openly, and find solutions together. It was a practical demonstration that love thrived not only in emotions, but also in actions and shared responsibility. One memorable evening, they decided to take a short trip to the countryside. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of pine and earth. Walking along quiet trails, they discussed their dreams, reflecting on the past and imagining the future. She spoke of her desire to explore new places, experience different cultures, and pursue her creative passions. He shared his aspirations, goals, and hopes for the kind of life he wanted to build. These conversations deepened their understanding, revealing shared values, complementary perspectives, and mutual respect. They also began to celebrate each other's individuality. She pursued her artistic projects with his encouragement, while he explored new ideas and hobbies with her support. Their relationship was not about merging into one identity, but about fostering growth, encouraging passions, and appreciating differences. This balance of togetherness and independence created a harmonious dynamic, where love was expressed through support, understanding, and shared joy. During this time, they revisited places where they had shared meaningful experiences in the past: the Riverside Cafe, the park where they first laughed together in the rain, and quiet streets where they had walked for hours. Each visit evoked memories, reinforcing the continuity and depth of their relationship. They realized that their journey was not just about the present, but also about the tapestry of moments that had led them here. Moments of laughter, care, understanding, and growth. They found joy in celebrating small victories and milestones. Completing a personal project, overcoming a challenge at work, or simply spending uninterrupted time together became moments of shared pride and happiness. They learned that acknowledging and appreciating these small achievements strengthened their emotional bond, making each day a building block in the architecture of their love. Through these experiences, they also explored the importance of emotional vulnerability. They shared fears, insecurities, and past regrets, not out of neediness, but as a way of fostering trust and intimacy. The young woman revealed moments of self-doubt, expressing how past experiences had shaped her outlook. The young man shared his vulnerabilities, acknowledging times when he had struggled to express himself or trust others. These exchanges deepened their emotional connection, showing that love thrives in honesty, empathy, and mutual understanding. They also learned to navigate the balance between lightness and seriousness. Playful moments, laughter, and spontaneous adventures coexisted with deeper conversations about life, responsibilities, and personal growth. They understood that a fulfilling relationship required both joy and depth, spontaneity and stability. This balance allowed them to experience love fully, appreciating its many dimensions without taking it for granted. One evening, they attended a small live music event. Sitting close together, listening to melodies that spoke to shared emotions, they held hands and felt the rhythm of life flowing through the space around them. In that quiet connection, they realized that love was not always about words or actions. It could also be felt in presence, touch, and shared experience. These moments created memories that were intangible yet profoundly lasting. The young woman often reflected on the growth she had experienced since meeting him. She felt more confident, resilient, and attuned to her emotions. His presence had provided stability, encouragement, and a mirror for self-reflection. He, in turn, recognized the ways she had inspired him to be more present, patient, and thoughtful. Their relationship was a partnership, built on mutual growth, support, and the shared pursuit of happiness. As winter approached, the city was adorned with soft lights and the promise of festive celebrations. They enjoyed the season together, embracing traditions like decorating a small tree, baking treats, and sharing warm drinks on cold evenings. These simple acts became symbols of their commitment, joy, and shared life, reinforcing the sense of belonging and connection they had cultivated. During this period, they also explored deeper aspects of trust and forgiveness. Past disagreements were revisited with understanding, mistakes were acknowledged, and lessons were embraced. They realized that love was not the absence of conflict, but the willingness to resolve differences with empathy, patience, and care. This understanding strengthened their bond, demonstrating that enduring love requires ongoing effort and thoughtful reflection. Through all these experiences, they discovered the profound beauty of companionship. They were present for each other in ways that transcended physical proximity, offering emotional support, listening with genuine attention, and celebrating shared moments of joy. Their relationship was characterized by a quiet yet powerful presence, a shared rhythm that made everyday life more meaningful and fulfilling. By the end of this period, their bond had transformed into a deeply rooted connection. They had navigated challenges, celebrated small victories, shared vulnerabilities, and built a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding. Their love had evolved, not into an idealized fantasy, but into a resilient, authentic, and profoundly human connection. Walking through the city streets one evening, hand in hand, they reflected on the journey they had taken together. Each shared smile, conversation, and gesture had contributed to a tapestry of memories, lessons, and emotions that shaped their relationship. They felt a sense of peace, knowing that their love was grounded in reality, nurtured through care, and strengthened by shared experiences. Their story during this time was one of healing, growth, and deepening connection. They discovered that love is most enduring when it embraces vulnerability, encourages growth, and thrives in consistent presence and empathy. Each day became an opportunity to nurture their bond, to appreciate the ordinary moments, and to create memories that would last a lifetime. Through intentional efforts, shared experiences, and ongoing reflection, they reached a stage where their connection was unshakable. They understood that love required effort, patience, and care, but that these efforts were rewarded with profound fulfillment, joy, and a sense of belonging. Their relationship was not perfect, but it was real, resilient, and deeply meaningful. And so, their journey continued with renewed strength and understanding. They had learned the importance of trust, empathy, forgiveness, and shared joy. Their hearts were aligned not just in affection, but in purpose, creating a partnership built to endure challenges, celebrate victories, and embrace the fullness of life together. This period marked the blossoming of a love that was both tender and strong, a bond that would continue to grow and stay with them forever. As their relationship entered a more settled and harmonious phase, the young woman and the young man began to envision a future together. They had grown through challenges, learned to communicate openly, and developed a deep understanding of each other's needs and desires. Their love was no longer just about the initial excitement or the thrill of discovery. It was about building a life together. Grounded in trust, respect, and shared joy, they spent their days exploring the ordinary yet beautiful aspects of life, creating routines that brought comfort and happiness. Morning walks through the quiet streets became a cherished ritual. They would talk about plans, dreams, and small observations that made them smile. Breakfasts together, simple yet meaningful, provided a time to connect before the bustle of the day began. They found joy in these everyday moments, understanding that love was present in consistency and shared presence as much as in grand gestures. One weekend, they decided to take a trip to the countryside. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and fresh earth. Walking along forest paths, they spoke of their past experiences, the lessons learned, and the dreams they wished to pursue. The young woman shared her aspirations for creativity and personal growth, while he spoke of his goals and vision for a fulfilling life. They listened with genuine attention, appreciating each other's perspectives, and finding ways to support and encourage one another. The simplicity of the moment, combined with the depth of their connection, reinforced their commitment. Back in the city, they continued to cultivate their relationship through small yet meaningful gestures, cooking meals together, sharing favorite music, and attending local events became opportunities to bond and create lasting memories. They celebrated successes, comforted each other in times of stress, and found ways to make ordinary days feel special. The young woman noticed the subtle ways he cared for her, remembering details about her preferences, offering quiet support, and sharing laughter that lightened heavy moments. He, in turn, appreciated her attentiveness, warmth, and the joy she brought into his life. They also deepened their understanding of compromise and shared responsibility, planning daily activities, making decisions about time and priorities, and managing personal commitments required negotiation and consideration. Through these experiences, they learned the importance of patience, respect, and collaboration. Each challenge they faced was an opportunity to strengthen their partnership, demonstrating that love is not only about affection, but also about shared effort and mutual support. One memorable evening, they attended a small live performance at a local theater. The music and performance stirred emotions they had not expected, prompting reflective conversations afterward. Sitting together under the soft glow of theater lights, they held hands, shared thoughts, and connected on a deeper emotional level. Moments like these reminded them that love was not just about shared experiences, but also about emotional resonance, understanding, and presence. As time went on, they began to integrate more deeply into each other's lives. They met close friends and family, forming connections that extended beyond themselves. The young woman introduced him to people who had influenced her life, sharing stories and experiences that shaped her. He, in turn, introduced her to his circle, demonstrating trust and openness. These interactions reinforced the sense of community and belonging that enriched their relationship. Their partnership was also characterized by support for personal growth. The young woman pursued artistic projects, encouraged by his interest and feedback, while he explored new skills and interests, motivated by her enthusiasm and curiosity. They celebrated achievements, comforted setbacks, and inspired each other to pursue passions. Their love was not about dependence, but about mutual encouragement, fostering growth, and nurturing individuality within a shared life. They found special meaning in traditions they created together. Annual visits to a favorite cafe, seasonal walks through parks, and quiet evenings spent reflecting on the past year became cherished rituals. Each tradition, simple as it might have seemed to outsiders, held deep significance, symbolizing continuity, care, and the shared history they were building. Through these practices, they reinforced a sense of stability and emotional security in their relationship. During the festive season, they celebrated with small yet meaningful acts, decorating a modest tree, baking treats, and sharing quiet conversations by the fire. These moments of togetherness reinforced their emotional connection, showing that love was nurtured not through extravagance but through presence, attention, and shared joy. They understood that the true value of celebration lay in the memories created and the care expressed, not in grandeur or spectacle. Through all these experiences, they continued to explore vulnerability and trust. They shared fears, hopes, and personal reflections, listening attentively and responding with empathy. The young woman revealed moments of doubt and concern, and he responded with reassurance and understanding. He shared uncertainties about the future, and she provided comfort and perspective. Through these exchanges, they built a foundation of trust that allowed their love to flourish in depth and authenticity. They also found humor and playfulness to be vital elements of their bond. Spontaneous jokes, playful banter, and light-hearted adventures became regular aspects of their shared life. These moments of laughter reinforced their emotional connection, providing relief from stress and reminding them of the joy inherent in their companionship. They discovered that a balanced relationship required both depth and lightness, seriousness and play, and that these elements could coexist harmoniously. One day, they decided to embark on a short journey to the seaside. The rhythm of the waves, the vast expanse of water, and the gentle breeze provided a serene backdrop for reflection and connection. Walking along the shore, they discussed future aspirations, personal goals, and the values they wished to uphold. The experience reminded them that love was not static, but a continuous journey, shaped by shared experiences, mutual support, and evolving understanding. They continued to celebrate milestones, both large and small, completing a challenging project, overcoming a personal struggle, or simply enjoying uninterrupted time together became occasions for recognition and shared joy. They understood that these moments, though ordinary, contributed to the richness of their relationship, reinforcing the depth of their connection and appreciation for one another. The young woman often reflected on the growth and transformation she had experienced through their relationship. She felt more confident, resilient, and attuned to her emotions. His presence had provided stability, encouragement, and a mirror for self-reflection. He, in turn, recognized the way she had inspired him to be more present, patient, and thoughtful. Their love was not about perfection, but about authenticity, understanding, shared growth. As their relationship matured, they became increasingly aware of the importance of shared values and mutual respect. Decisions about time, commitments, and future plans were made collaboratively, reflecting a partnership built on equality, trust, and consideration. They understood that love was an ongoing process, requiring effort, communication, and attentiveness, and they embraced these responsibilities willingly. Throughout their journey, they discovered the beauty of shared silence. Sitting together, reading, walking, or simply enjoying each other's presence without speaking, they felt a profound sense of comfort and intimacy. These quiet moments reinforced the strength of their connection, demonstrating that love can exist powerfully in presence, understanding. In shared awareness, they also learned the importance of forgiveness and patience. Minor disagreements and misunderstandings were addressed with empathy and care, preventing resentment from accumulating. Through this practice, they cultivated resilience in their relationship, understanding that love thrives when nurtured with understanding, humility, and compassion. One evening, they revisited the riverside where their journey had deepened long ago. Walking along the familiar path, hand in hand, they reflected on the path they had traveled together, the moments of laughter, learning, challenge, and growth. Each shared memory reinforced the continuity and depth of their bond, providing reassurance that their love had endured and strengthened over time. Their story culminated in the realization that love is not only about passion or excitement, but about enduring presence, empathy, support, and shared growth. They had built a life together that was meaningful, nurturing, and profoundly human. Every small gesture, every shared moment, and every act of care contributed to a love that was resilient, authentic, and lasting. As they walked through the city streets one evening, bathed in the warm glow of streetlights, they felt a sense of completeness and peace.